So on to our final category of games that we've loved playing this year, and that is the category of Best Indie Game. Now, this year, I've got to say, my most emotional, affecting experiences and most surprising experience this year in gaming has, I've got to say, been from the majority of indie games that have really just blown my mind. There have been so many of them, and where to begin? There's been Adrift, there's been Inside, there's been Stories, The Path of Destiny, so many to choose from, Abzu, and I've got to say, trying to narrow down a short list of indie games has been really, really difficult because there are so many of them, and it really is an avenue for developers to take bigger risks, less, I guess, overheads at times anyway, maybe not always the time, but it really does seem like there is, I'm not going to say less pressure because the pressure is still there, very, very much so, but it just seems to be that indie developers have the opportunity to take way, way bigger risks. And of course the games are much, much cheaper. They're not selling for $49.99 in the UK anyway. They're selling for around the £10 mark, the £15 mark. So it's an easier sell as well. You don't feel like you're going to get burned as badly. So that there's a different level of expectation as to what you expect for a game there. So does that influence what you take away from an indie game? Probably, because you're not spending as much on it, so therefore you're not demanding as highly. But don't take that away from any of these games, because what you're getting for them, I've got to say, is a lot better than a lot of AAA games out there. So my shortlist for indie games of the year are Inside, Stories, The Path of Destinies, Adrift, Abzu, Alien Nation from House Marquee, and finally Firewatch from Campo Santos. Now, let's go through as to why all of these indie games, out of so many indie games this year, are my picks for Best Indie Game of the Year. So Inside. What can you say about Inside without spoiling it? Well, I'm going to try my best. I do apologise if I veer off into spoilery territory. I'm going to try my best not to. Basically, this game its achievement is not only in its art style, which is incredible. It is the kind of spiritual sequel to Limbo. Now, if you've played Limbo on the previous generation, or even on this generation for the very first time, it did get remastered, then do check it out. It is incredible in its stark brutality of this little boy. It's essentially a 2D platformer at its heart, and the many ways in which he succumbs to probably the most brutal deaths that I think I've ever seen in video games as well. So Inside is basically not a continuation of that, but you are the little boy, again, a different little boy. It is at its heart a 2D platforming game, and it is at times very, very shockingly brutal as well. A very, very stark colour palette, just like Limbo. And this time there's a little bit more colour in it. You've got a red sweater on, but all the environments are this kind of stark, washed out, muted colour palette. And it is incredibly affecting. Now, what is it about? I have no idea. I've played it, I've completed it, and I've got to say, it's one of those games that you're just playing it and you're swept up, you're just on board without thinking about it too much. You're thinking, what on earth is going on here? Are you trying to escape some facility? Are you trying to break into some facility? What has happened to the world? Why is this kind of like oppressive security regime after me or not after me? Am I trying to escape them? Are they trying to stop me? Are they trying to protect me from getting it? What on earth is going on here? And just for that alone, the fact that it conveys all of this without saying a single word, there's no speech or dialogue in this game at all, is one heck of an achievement. And you will be hooked from the very first 30 seconds. Basically, you're going to be hooked on this game. It's brilliant, and it is only about £15 as well. So for something like that, to have such great production values as well, the animation of the little boy running and vaulting over the obstacles, very, very clever puzzle design as well. Honestly, it does put to shame a lot of AAA titles, so an easy recommendation for Indie Game of the Year. And next up is Stories, The Path of Destinies. Now, if you are a fan of Roald Dahl and stories like the Fantastic Mystic Fox, growing up in your childhood, listening to these fantastic tales, then Stories, The Path of Destinies is right up your street. There's a cast of characters that are so funny, all animal-based. You play as this sword fu master called Renardo, who is a defender of the Empress, and he's a fox. And he's full of charm, full of dry wit, and very, very clever writing, really, really strong voice acting that just kind of fits the character perfectly. You know, his best friend is a rabbit. There's toads. It reminds me a little bit of like the Wind in the Willows sort of cast of characters. But what makes it so great is that it has this gorgeous cell shading aesthetic, but also really, really strong kind of like combat mechanics and platform mechanics and puzzle solving as well. So think about the Batman Arkham games and that combat system, and then transpose it to an isometric view. And you have a sword, you have a dash, you have counters and blocks, and different upgrades for your swords, different magical swords that open up different doors and different powerful abilities. And it is a lot of fun, but the real genius in this game is in its narrative. So I likened it in my review, which you can check out on gamertagged.co.uk under the review section, shameless plug. I likened Stories of the Path of Destinies to Groundhog Day, and it is very much like that. You get, throughout the course of the game, every so often you'll have a decision to make, and that will directly affect the outcome of the game. Some are really, really quite tricky, because you don't really know what is the right or the wrong answer. There is no right or wrong answer, but it does directly affect the outcome. It could be a choice of, do you rescue your friend who has been kidnapped and is about to be tortured, or do you go after a potential artifact that could be used as a weapon that the enemies have found. So you really do have to pick which fork in the road you decide to go down. And it does have massive, massive repercussions. Now, you don't understand the real power of those repercussions until you get to the end of the game. And that's when you either die, or the enemy will win, or everybody will die, or everybody will win, or, you know, all these permutations, these twists and turns might basically warp you right back to the very beginning of the game again, and where you have to explore different narrative journeys. And that is the genius of it. I think there's about 25 different stories that it all tells throughout the course of its lifespan, and you have to obviously unlock all of them to get the true one story that is the Path of Destiny. Genius at times. It is really, really good, and do check it out because it is mega cheap as chips. Now, on to an indie game that is very, very different, and that is Adrift. Now, Adrift was developed as a VR-only title, but I was overwhelmed with joy in that it came to the PlayStation as a non-VR title. You could play it without a VR headset. Now, I understand that you're going to lose a degree of immersion there, but for me, get some headphones on, soak up all that audio, that ambient audio that developers have taken real great care in, and get immersed that way if you don't have a VR headset. I don't have a VR headset, so audio was basically my last avenue of full immersion. But what makes it so great is that you are an astronaut stranded on a base station that has been completely decimated by something that's gone wrong. It's never really explained what happened, whether the systems were overstressed, whether a meteorite shower hit it. Who knows what happened, but something decimated the space station, and it's up to you as the only survivor to restore the systems to life support, to communications, to your UAV submersible life raft to get back to Earth and survive, basically. And it does a really great job of making you hold your breath, because oxygen is a finite commodity in space, obviously, so you have to be really, really careful. In an industry where you're always kind of taught to, you know, move fast to one area to the next, then it's so refreshing to just basically float, barely moving, trying to take as shallow breaths as possible as you try and reach out with your fingertips, you know, wavering like that in a desperate grab to grab that next oxygen canister. Think of it a little bit like the underwater level in Sonic the Hedgehog, where you're trying to get from air bubble to air bubble, but you're never quite sure if you're going to make it or not. It really is like that. I mean, many an occasion I've had where I've been reaching out for an oxygen tank to fluff it, and then it spins the oxygen tank way off into space, and of course my astronaut character suffocates to death and dies, and I have to restart the checkpoint. But it is a palpable tension that is really, really quite something to experience. And it works really, really well without VR. It must be incredible with VR, but even if you don't have VR, do check it out because it is well worth it. And it's something that's just very, very unique. This base station feels like it has a real science behind it as well. And just really well executed and well worth a shout. So, on to our next one. Abzu. I'm giving this a nomination because I am a huge fan of Austin Wintory and his score that he developed for Journey. And this is the spiritual successor to Journey, which was just incredible on the PlayStation 3. And you can find it remastered on the PlayStation 4 as well. Now, Abzu is very, very similar to Journey in that it's not about the length it takes you to get to complete the game or to complete your journey, essentially. It's all about the journey itself. What do you have to go through? Look at your environment and just be absorbed. Take your time. It's this beautiful, tranquil, underwater world that is completely foreign. It feels alien, and you feel like an outsider because all these schools of fish, the whales, the stingrays, are all animated beautifully, and there are hundreds and hundreds on screen at one time, and it really is a sight to behold. And it's just the kind of thing where you just are there to experience as opposed to try and beat the game. And that's its real achievement there. You're soaked up in the colour, how small you feel when you're swimming side by side with a giant blue whale, where its eyeball fills the screen, and you're this tiny little swimmer that's just kind of kicking and swimming alongside it. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Austin Wintory's score is just beautiful as well. So ramp up the volume and just get swept up in that gorgeous soundtrack. So that for me is an easy recommendation as well. And then finally, almost finally, I beg your pardon, we've got two more to go. Alien Nation from House Marquee. Now, this is basically another top-down shooter, but don't let that put you off. This thing is pure gameplay. Action to the 10th degree. Is unbelievably good. Now, if you've played Dead Nation, you'll be very, very familiar with Alien Nation's kind of setup, and not on premise, but the setup and the mechanics. It's a twin-stick shooter at its heart, and anybody who's played twin-stick shooters will know very well that twin-stick shooters are all gameplay. You've got to nail the gameplay, otherwise it just doesn't work. And of course, House Marquee are really the best in the business at twin-stick shooters. They're just incredible. And with Alien Nation, they've really expanded on the mechanics, which were great about Dead Nation. There's an RPG system. There's 3 classes of characters. All the levels are randomly generated, so you don't know what kind of level or configuration you're going to get. There are swarms and swarms of enemies that remind me a lot like Starship Troopers, where the arachnids are all kind of like swooping in and swarming you, and you have to hold out against them for a time until your dropship to swoop in. And there's this like alien science experimentation thing going on as well, and it's obviously drop in, drop out co-op. It's online co-op, and it is an absolute riot. Just great fun. Check it out because it's really, really good. And then finally, we have probably one of the most beautiful looking indie games of this year, and that is Firewatch by Campo Santos. Now, Firewatch has kind of been dismissed as just a walking simulator, and to a degree it kind of is that, but what you're missing out on if you're letting that put you off is an incredible narrative and some of the best, most natural writing and dialogue delivery that has ever been put into video games. And that says a lot considering we've had Uncharted 4, we've had, Quantum Break with its blend of live action and interactivity. Firewatch it's hard to really kind of explain just how good it is without actually giving anything away. And I don't want to spoil anything, but you are a park ranger who's moved to this national park as a way to overcome like a personal tragedy. And that's all I'm going to say. And there's only you and your kind of ranger colleague, who's kind of like your boss, that are the only dialogue in the game entirely. And you don't get to see her at all. Her dialogue, it comes across like a walkie-talkie that you're talking to, and it's just magnificent. It will hook you. It's very, very short again. It's only a couple of hours, maybe between 2 to 4 hours if you want to linger and mess around in the national park, or if you want to just focus on solving the main story and pushing that through toward the end. But it's just beautifully executed. It's gorgeous. Pretty much you can pause the game anywhere in the game and you have got a stunning print that you could print off on your wall. It is so, so beautiful. Lots of colour, beautiful illustrative style, really simple but quite effective animation as well. So do check that out because it is well worth your time. But there can be only one winner. And that brings us to the end of our nominations for Best Indie Game of the Year 2016. So what could the winner be? Well, for me, I've got to say Stories: The Path of Destinies. I thought I was going to give it to Inside because of how disturbing and how effective its use of non-audio is in the game to convey the sense of dread and almost like torture and what the heck is going on. But I'm going to give it to Stories: The Path of Destiny because how clever it is, how solid the mechanics are, how beautiful the everything looks. The level design is really clever. The puzzle design is challenging but fun. But it's that narrative structure, how you get to shape the story and uncover all 25 of these different story arcs, and then you go back to the beginning and then you try something different, whilst keeping your upgrades and everything like that. It's a little bit roguelite in that regard, but just brilliant. So do check that out. That is our Best Indie Game Gamertag Game of the Year. So. So, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That has been our full list of categories for our games of the year that we've been playing this year. Do give us a like and give us a comment if you have been enjoying this video. It is a bit of an experiment, so we will be doing more of them. I'd like to try and do them on a weekly basis, but we are going to be relying on your feedback. So do put in the comments, what were your games of the year? If you want to hear a particular topic of discussion on a future episode, then do let us know about that. Again, just put it in the comments on our YouTube channel, or when we post this on Facebook for our online community. Again, give us some feedback. Let us know what you thought of the video, what we can do better. I'm sure there's lots that we can do better, but it is just starting out. It is episode 1 of Gamertag Talks, and we hope to do many, many more in the future. And of course, give something back to our community and have that engagement, that real dialogue with our members and with our fans if we have any out there. But from me, I'm going to call it there. Do give us a like and give us a follow on Twitter at GTAG. Do check out our reviews for each of these games on gamertag.co.uk, and please do give us a subscribe to our YouTube channel. But anyway, that's it for me. Take care. Bye bye.